You're standing in your backyard right now, looking at all that empty space between your plants, and thinking the same thing you thought last May, that somehow, this summer is going to be different. But here's what nobody tells you. Most of the flowers people buy in spring are actually the slowest to spread, which means you spend money, you put in the work, and by July, you're still staring at a yard that looks half-finished. There's a reason some gardeners seem to go from bare soil to a lush, overflowing yard in just a few weeks. And it's not because they have more time or more money. It's because they know which plants actually move. Stay until the end of this video, because the plant we cover last is the one that's going to completely change how you think about filling your garden. And once you see it, you'll wonder why no one told you sooner. Let's start with sweet alyssum. And if you've never grown this one, you're in for a genuine surprise. Most low-growing flowers take weeks just to establish, but sweet alyssum is already spilling over the edges of containers and beds by the time most plants are still sitting there looking confused. It spreads horizontally and aggressively, forming a dense mat of tiny white, purple, or pink blossoms that not only covers bare soil, but actually suppresses weeds in the process. It thrives in full sun, but tolerates partial shade, which makes it one of the most adaptable ground-level spreaders you can plant in May. It does well across a wide range of USDA zones, roughly 5 through 9, and it self-seeds so reliably that many gardeners find it coming back on its own year after year without replanting. The fragrance is real, a light, honey-like scent that's subtle enough indoors, but present enough in the garden to notice. If you've been putting mulch down just to hide bare soil between taller plants, sweet alyssum does that job better and adds color at the same time. Plant it along borders, in front of rose beds, or between stepping stones, and within 3 to 4 weeks, you'll have solid coverage where there was nothing before. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because the next plant on this list does something that most gardeners spend years trying to achieve artificially, and it does it without any help from you at all. Creeping phlox is one of those plants that seems almost too good to be true until you actually grow it, and then you become the person telling everyone else about it. It forms a dense, spreading carpet of needle-like foliage that erupts in spring with a blanket of color, pink, white, purple, lavender, so thick that you can barely see the leaves underneath. By May, if you plant it now, you're catching it right at the end of its main bloom period, but more importantly, you're giving it the entire growing season to spread into empty spaces before next year. And spread it will. A single plant can expand 12 to 18 inches in a single season under good conditions. It roots as it spreads, which means it's not just covering ground visually, but actually anchoring soil on slopes and embankments where other plants slide or wash away. It thrives in full sun, tolerates rocky or poor soil, and once established, it requires almost no supplemental watering. USDA zones 3 through 9 are all fair game, making it one of the most climate-versatile spreading plants in this entire list. The visual payoff is enormous relative to the investment, and the fact that it comes back stronger every year means you're not replanting it. You're just managing how far it goes. Creeping Jenny is a name that sometimes throws people off because it doesn't sound particularly impressive, but the plant is relentless in the best possible way. The chartreuse gold version, which is the most widely available, grows fast and low, producing trailing stems that root wherever they touch soil. In shadier spots where most spreading flowers fail, Creeping Jenny keeps moving. It's one of the few plants on this list that actually prefers partial to full shade, which makes it incredibly useful for the parts of your yard that stay dark and bare under trees or along north-facing walls. It also works beautifully in containers, spilling over the edges, and in water features, growing right to the waterline. In USDA zones 3 through 9, it's either perennial or behaves as an aggressive annual depending on your winters. The color is striking against darker mulch or stone, and because it roots along its entire length, coverage happens fast. Some gardeners treat it as a living mulch, letting it grow under and around taller perennials to hold moisture and eliminate the need for constant weeding in those sections. And if you think ground-level spreaders are the whole story, wait until we get to the ones that go vertical, because the way they fill a fence or trellis in a single season is something most people never expect from a flower. Morning Glory is old-fashioned in the best sense. It's been growing on fences and trellises across North America and the UK for generations because it works, reliably, every time, in almost any soil. Plant the seeds in May, give them something to climb, and by midsummer, you'll have 8 to 10 feet of dense green coverage covered in trumpet-shaped blooms in deep blue, purple, pink, or white that open fresh every single morning. The name is literal. Each flower lasts a day, but the plant produces so many over such a long season that it never looks sparse. Morning Glory is one of those rare annuals that fills a vertical space so completely that it essentially becomes a privacy screen. It grows in full sun, tolerates dry conditions once established, and self-seeds prolifically, which means you often don't need to buy new seeds the following year. They're already waiting in the soil. It does best in zones 3 through the 10 as an annual. One thing to know, it prefers slightly leaner soil, so resist the urge to fertilize heavily or you'll get more leaves than flowers. Let it be a little bit hungry, and it rewards you generously. Nasturtiums are misunderstood. Most people buy them, they bloom for a while, and then the gardener moves on. What they miss is how aggressively nasturtiums spread when given room, especially the trailing varieties that can reach 6 feet across in a single season. They fill slopes, cover awkward corners, tumble over retaining walls, and bloom from late spring all the way through the first frost in colors that range from deep burgundy to bright orange to pale yellow. They grow in full sun to partial shade. They actually prefer poor soil. Rich soil gives you leaves and very few flowers, and they require almost no watering once established. Every part of the nasturtium is edible, which is a bonus that surprises people who've only thought of them as ornamental. The seeds, the leaves, the flowers, all usable in salads or as garnishes. They're annuals in most zones, but self-seed so freely that they often return without any effort on your part. If you have a bare slope or a hot, dry corner that's been defeating every plant you put in it, this is almost certainly the answer. Now here's the thing about the next plant that makes most gardeners stop and rethink their whole approach to filling empty space. Portulaca, also called moss rose, looks delicate. It shouldn't work. The flowers are almost jewel-like. Silky, rose-shaped blooms in electric shades of orange, pink, yellow, red, and white that open in full sun and close at night. But the plant underneath those flowers is one of the toughest spreaders you can find. It grows in sand. It grows in gravel. It grows in the kind of hot, reflected heat spots along driveways and pathways where almost nothing else survives, let alone thrives. It spreads by seed and by rooting along its stems, filling flat, sunny areas with a dense carpet of color that requires zero supplemental watering in most regions once it's established. USDA zones 2 through 11 in terms of summer performance, meaning essentially the entire United States and most of the UK can grow this as a season-long annual. Gardeners who have been fighting bare spots near heat-absorbing walls or in gravel beds often discover Portulaca by accident and then plant it deliberately every year after. It won't outcompete weeds in rich, moist soil, but in the challenging spots where weeds also struggle, it wins. Lantana is next, and if you live in a warmer part of the country, roughly USDA zones 8 through 11, this is potentially the most useful plant in this entire video. In zones where it overwinters, Lantana behaves like a shrub that spreads aggressively by horizontal branching, growing 2 to 4 feet tall and 3 to 6 feet wide in a single season. Even in cooler zones where it's grown as an annual, it spreads fast enough through the summer to cover significant ground. The flowers are multicolored clusters that change shade as they age, often shifting from yellow to orange to red on the same flower head, and they attract butterflies and hummingbirds in numbers that make the garden feel genuinely alive. It's drought-tolerant once established, grows in full sun, and handles heat that would shut down more delicate flowers. The one note worth making: Lantana is toxic if ingested, so it's worth keeping in mind if you have young children or pets who explore the garden. That said, as a landscape plant in hot, sunny areas with tough conditions, it is extraordinarily effective at turning bare space into dense, colorful coverage fast. If you've been with us this long, the next two plants are worth staying for, because one of them is the reason experienced gardeners rarely have bare ground for more than a week. Coreopsis, commonly called tickseed, is one of those perennial spreaders that gets better every year rather than just maintaining itself. It forms clumps that expand outward reliably, and because it self-seeds in addition to spreading from the root, it colonizes surrounding areas gradually without becoming invasive in the traditional sense. The flowers are daisy-like, bright yellow or golden orange, and they bloom from late spring through fall with minimal deadheading required. It grows in full sun, tolerates poor and dry soil, handles heat and drought better than most perennials, and is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. What makes Coreopsis particularly valuable for filling space is that it blooms for so long. Many varieties produce flowers continuously for 4 to 5 months. So it's not just covering ground, it's providing color the entire season. It also pairs well with other spreaders, creating a layered effect when planted alongside lower-growing plants like alyssum or Portulaca in front of it. Plant it in May and you'll have established spreading clumps by fall that come back even larger the following spring. Rudbeckia, also known as black-eyed Susan, is a plant with a reputation for reliability that's honestly earned. It spreads through both self-seeding and slow rhizome expansion, meaning it gradually fills in surrounding areas year after year without requiring division or replanting. The golden yellow flowers with dark centers are instantly recognizable and bloom from midsummer through fall, bridging the gap when many spring flowers are finishing. It grows in full sun to partial shade, tolerates clay and poor soils that defeat more finicky plants, and is drought-resistant once established. Hardy in zones 3 through 9, it functions as a biennial in some conditions and a perennial in others, but the self-seeding behavior means it persists indefinitely in most gardens once it's introduced. Many wildflower meadow designs rely almost entirely on Rudbeckia to provide the backbone of color across large open spaces, which tells you something about how effectively it covers ground over time. In a home garden, a handful of plants placed strategically in May will start a slow but consistent spread that eventually fills entire beds without additional cost or effort. Here's what most gardeners don't realize about the next plant, and it's the kind of thing that makes you wish someone had told you 10 years ago. Salvia, specifically the annual and spreading varieties like Salvia splendens and Salvia nemorosa, combines serious drought tolerance with a spreading habit that fills borders and bed edges more reliably than almost any other flower in this category. The upright flower spikes come in deep purple, blue, red, and white, and they bloom so prolifically and for so long that this plant is a workhorse from May through the first frost. It grows in full sun, prefers well-drained soil, handles heat and dry periods without complaint, and in warmer zones behaves as a perennial that expands its clump size every year. In cooler zones, the annual types self-seed generously, so you often get a second generation filling in around the parent plants by late summer. Salvia is also one of the most pollinator-friendly plants you can put in a garden. Bees and hummingbirds find it reliably, which gives the entire garden a sense of activity and life beyond just the visual. If you've been planting salvias only as accent plants and not thinking of them as spreaders, you've been underutilizing them. Give them space and time and they will fill it. Verbena is one of those flowers that looks better in person than it ever does on a seed packet or plant tag, which is part of why it's consistently underrated. The trailing varieties in particular, Verbena canadensis and the hybrid trailing types widely available in nurseries, spread horizontally with surprising speed, rooting along their stems as they go and forming a dense, weed-suppressing mat of fine-textured foliage covered in clusters of small flowers. Colors range from white and soft pink to vivid magenta, deep purple, and bright red. It grows in full sun, tolerates heat and some drought once established, and performs well in USDA zones 6 through 9 as a perennial and as an annual in cooler zones. The key with Verbena is to not overcrowd it when planting. Give each plant a little more space than you think it needs, because within 6 weeks it will have filled that space completely and then some. It works especially well along the front edge of borders, in rock gardens, and cascading over walls or raised beds. As a season-long spreader that starts early and keeps going, Verbena delivers consistent visual payoff from May through fall. And now we've arrived at the plant that most gardeners either love completely or have never tried because they assumed it was too aggressive. Both reactions make sense once you understand what it actually does. Catmint, specifically Nepeta x faceni, and its cultivars like Walker's Low, is the plant that experienced gardeners return to again and again when they want reliable, spreading, low-maintenance color that takes care of itself. It forms wide, billowing mounds of gray-green aromatic foliage covered in lavender-blue flower spikes, and it blooms heavily in late spring and early summer. Here's what makes it a spreader for our purposes. If you cut it back by about a third after the first bloom flush, it rebounds within 2 to 3 weeks and blooms again, sometimes a third time before fall. The clumps expand outward each year, gradually filling bed space without becoming invasive. It grows in full sun to partial shade, tolerates dry and poor soils exceptionally well, repels deer and rabbits due to its aromatic oils, and is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8. Walker's Low, despite its name, grows about 2 to 3 feet tall and can spread 3 feet wide or more after a couple of seasons. Many landscape designers use it as a border plant specifically because it fills space so effectively while requiring almost no intervention. If you've had bare ground between larger shrubs or perennials that you've been trying to fill for years, Catmint is almost certainly the answer you've been looking for. What you've just seen is that filling your garden doesn't require expensive plants, complicated techniques, or hours of weekend labor. It requires knowing which plants actually move, which ones spread horizontally, root as they travel, self-seed into surrounding soil, or expand their clumps quietly and reliably each season. Plant any of these in May, and you're working with the timing the plants themselves prefer, giving them the warmth they need to establish quickly and spread through the summer. That's the difference between a yard that looks finished and a yard that always seems to need something more. If this is the kind of practical, honest information you've been looking for, then this channel was made exactly for you, because this is what we do here, week after week. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, because the next video goes even deeper into plants that do the work so you don't have to, and I genuinely don't want you to miss it.